So there's one thing that I really need to tell you guys, and it's something that I am not proud of. Hey, my name is JK, you're watching Once Upon a Church here today. Hopefully you guys can understand my situation and help me pray for me as well. So recently my grandmother passed away, and it was kind of a big hit for me because I was relatively close to my grandma. Like, I always go to her, like, when we just have like a big family feast. Back then we always had fun with each other, we always talk about stuff, and there are times when I try to talk to my grandma about Christianity. So hey guys, so I've been wondering, maybe I should say something about my grandma or about a little bit about her background before maybe saying things that you might not understand. So my grandma's been around for a pretty long time. She's in her late 80s and she's been through a lot of things. Her first encounters when there was a war back in World War II. And at that time there are a lot of like Christianity preaching towards the Asian Pacific. Grandma is one of the people who has a pretty stiff heart and just doesn't like to listen at all. And I feel like it was because that she didn't listen, God was like, okay, if you're not listening, then I'm going to tell one of your children to listen. So what happened was many years later, my mom was born. Out of the 5 children, only one of them became a Christian, and that was my mom. As my mom would describe herself as probably a ignorant, maybe a baby face kind of little girl back then, she was chosen by God. And I think it was really significant because God chose the person who seems to be the least smart, as my mom would say, the least confident in herself, and I guess ignorant. And many years later I was born and I became a Christian. And it feels like because we became Christians and we reversely like spread the gospel to our grandma again, it's like God would never let you go. God saw that my grandma came to know Christianity at a young age back in the World Wars and didn't believe it, and now he was like telling us to help her, that we should spread out the gospel to her. I just find it really fascinating because God was always there for her. Even like many years later, it seems like she would never believe, but eventually she actually believed. I think that God works in miraculous ways. Now, talking to relatives about Christianity is pretty hard, especially if they have like religions such as Buddhism or Muslim, Islamic. It's really hard to spread the gospel to them. Often people brush away this topic or even like stay away from it permanently. She has a stand firm belief of herself. But after talking to her for many years about Jesus Christ, she decided to, why not have a little understanding of it? Why not get to know it a bit more? So we've been bringing my grandma to the church. We go around and like have some like concerts about Christianity, and we also brought our pastor to her and just have a little chat. After doing this for many years, she was like, oh, Christianity is actually kind of different. Although every time I tried to talk to her about Christianity, everything I say seems pointless. It doesn't seem like she would ever listen. But it was the accumulative like talking with her, all the concerts she's been to, all the talk shows she's been to about Christianity. She's always been to a lot of places, and all together it gave her a chance to understand and also soften her heart to Christ. One thing that's really important is that as Christians, we should always give time for people to understand Christianity. I mean, it's not something that you can just do instantaneously. And to spread the gospel also relies on your faith on God as well. The faith in God that your parents or grandparents will be touched by Jesus. It's not easy and it takes a lot of time. And the one thing that is really important is to show them as an example. Show yourself as a Christian towards them. A lot of elderly in Hong Kong, where I'm from, often they believe in Buddhism. A lot of Confucius says this, and just a lot of feng shui stuff. By being an example, to stand firm in your belief is really important. You'll be surprised at how many little things that people notice by setting it as an example. Back when I was in high school, I always have lunch outside at a canteen area. At this canteen area, we always buy these lunch boxes for us to eat, and every time before we eat, I always do a little prayer. Although it was really fast and really quick, my friend always notices me doing that, and every time he was getting more and more curious, and then eventually I brought him to church. What I'm trying to say is that it's always these little bits that people get curious about, and by setting example, you're giving them more chances to understand what it's like to be with God, to live as a Christian, and to be curious what it's like to be a Christian. In my grandma's case, we never got into all those like Confucius says this or feng shui kind of thing. And I got my grandma curious and asked my mom, why aren't you doing all these things? And I got her curious about Christianity. Ta-da! And about half a year ago, I am very proud to say that my grandma has baptized and confessed that she believes in Jesus Christ as her Savior. And just passing away from earth, I feel it's very comforting to know that grandma is in a better place, a much safer place, that she'll be happy and joyful around Jesus. Now, one thing my grandma said to me is that she really wished that I would study really hard. And October is a really hard month for me because of exams. So as a token of tribute to my grandma and also to myself and what I'm doing in this channel, I just want to say that I am gonna pause this channel for a moment. After October, I'll be back into the game. I just made a promise to my grandma and I'm gonna do my best to fulfill it. Grandma, if you're watching this video, I'm gonna say I love you and I'm gonna make you proud. I'm gonna make God proud. I'm gonna show off that God is the best. This is gonna be one of those things where you see an enemy where they like just take a little time skip and then like after like a year or two, you come back and become really good. I'm gonna study hard and I hope you guys will study hard or train hard or work hard as well. And we do it for Christ. So Once Upon a Church is disbanded temporarily and hope you guys would stay awesome. I'll see you guys next time.